What's up, everybody? Welcome to Just a Little Salt, the podcast hosted by me, the Salty Paramedic. If you or anybody you know wants to be on the show, make sure to send a request to justalittlesaltpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support the podcast and the work I'm doing for first responders, it's easy. Go on the saltyparamedic.com. Everything there, books, merch, resources, is built around this community. If you're looking for bonus episodes or content you're not going to hear anywhere else, make sure to join the Patreon. Go on patreon.com and search the Salty Paramedic. That support directly helps me keep bringing this content to life. Without further ado, thanks for listening. Here's the show. What is up, everybody? Brand new episode, Just a Little Salt. Very excited about this one. If you aren't already, please follow the podcast wherever you're listening to it right now. Give us 5 stars if you like it. It really helps us out. We've got another set medic on the show today. His name is Gabe. I'll let him introduce himself, tell a little bit about your history, and we'll go on from there.
Well, hi, everybody. So thanks for letting me come and join you. My name's Gabe Smith. I started in EMS in August of 2005 while living in Jackson, Mississippi. I used to have a sports talk radio show, and I realized there's no money in radio. And one of my callers said, "Hey, I know you're looking for a job. We need somebody to clean and stock ambulances. Would you be interested?" And I said, yes. Part of that job was we had to do ride-alongs. And when I did that first ride-along, I was hooked. I was like, this is what I want to do. So I started in EMS, like I said, August 16th of 2005 in Jackson, Mississippi. Approximately 2 weeks later, Hurricane Katrina hit. And when it hit Jackson, it was still a very strong Category 2. So strong, in fact, that we were out of power for weeks. We stopped running 911 calls for 6 hours because it was unsafe. And I said to myself, that's a hell of an orientation right there. So, but since then, went and got my EMT, was an EMT for a few years. And in 2011, got my paramedic, and EMS has essentially been in my blood and my life ever since then. And now here it is. I live in the New Orleans area. I moved here in 2018 after doing the scariest thing you can do professionally. And that was going part-time at something that was guaranteed safety to pursue a dream. And that dream was to work full-time behind the scenes on movies and shows, commercials, and anything else anybody would have.
That is awesome.
And here we are today.
Yeah, you sent me over, the films and shows you've worked on. And a couple of them in particular really struck out to me because me and my wife are fans of anything Gordon Ramsay does. Any type of cooking shows. I love to cook, but I love to watch it more. And we'll go into those first, the Gordon Ramsay shows. So which shows in particular of his have you worked on?
I started with an old show that COVID shut down called 24 Hours to Hell and Back. Then Kitchen Nightmares, which we currently do, and his newest show, Secret Service. Now, the familiar thing with all three of those were these are his restaurant renovation shows. So generally, it used to be where there was only one lead medic, which would be me. And then if I needed extra help, we would bring in somebody from the area to work the overnight or something. But now the way his restaurant renovation shows are done, there are 2 medics, myself, and the other medic is my paramedic mentor, best friend, was, look, he and we ran a call on my daughter for cardiac arrest once. And there was nobody I wanted in that truck right then and there than him. She was 6 years old. Now she's working on her master's degree. So this is somebody I trust with the safety of everybody. And the way inside baseball, the way the restaurant renovation shows are done, there's a little bit of overlap between the episodes. So you have 2 separate teams who work on their specific episode, and then you have one team that's working on all the episodes. So he and I travel the country with Chef. It's an absolute blast. It's like getting together for a 6-week family reunion with family you actually want to see.
Yeah, that must be nice.
It is.
That's awesome. So you've worked on the ambulance and behind the scenes on TV shows and movies. So I got one crazy question right off the bat. What smells worse medically, infected wounds or a walk-in fridge from a failing restaurant?
In 20 years in EMS, I've puked one time. I'm not ashamed. And if you're new in EMS, wear it like a badge of honor. I promise you, you're not the only one who has done it. With chef shows, I've thrown up 3 separate occasions walking into walk-in coolers. There is one in Northern Virginia named the restaurant, considered themselves a seafood restaurant, which is great because they're only an hour from Chesapeake Bay. I mean, they can go get fresh seafood. They had fresh seafood. The only problem is their walk-in cooler was set at 69 degrees. So it was fresh in all sorts of different ways.
My God.
So when we started an episode, my first day there, I walked through the restaurant. I want to do a safety check. Opened that door. I stepped in. I did a about face, and I found a sink. And yeah, there you go. So those walk-in coolers are just plain rank nasty.
See, I've been lucky. I've worked in 2 restaurants in college, and luckily, I never experienced anything like that. But working in restaurants, I mean, it's dangerous. So I can't imagine on a show with restaurants, you probably encounter a lot of burns and cuts from knives and everything. So what do you think is the most common injury you've had on these restaurant shows?
Well, it's weird with the cooking shows because I've done chef shows. I've also done Food Network baking championships. I mean, there was a woman on one of the baking championships. They're going for $25,000. She's a professional baker. After the competition part of the shooting day was done, somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, so and so may have burned her hand. Yeah, can you check on her?" And I go and check on her. She didn't have anything to strain her caramel with, her hot caramel. So she just went like this.
My gosh.
And I went to her and she already had it wrapped. And she's like, "I'm a professional baker." And I'm like, "Well, you go." Now, with chef shows, here's the thing. We're at each restaurant for 5 days shooting, okay? The other 360 days of the year, they don't have a medic there, okay? I'm a
Mhm.
luxury. Anybody who's a set medic is a luxury to whoever they're working with. Those 360 other days of the year, if they cut or burn themselves, guess what? They're going to take care of it themselves. So unless it's a catastrophic injury, they're not going to call for the medic because they don't even realize I'm there. They just go ahead and take care of it. Now, on those cooking shows, the injuries that I see are towards the end of that 6-week run where the crew is tired. They've been working 12, 13, 14-hour days, 5 or 6 days a week for 6 days. Your body begins just to break down. Your immune system just goes in the crapper. Mentally, you're absolutely stressed. And it's the accidents that you wouldn't expect to happen. Just somebody not paying attention on how they're lifting something or where they're walking, where they're walking. They may walk into something just because they're just absolutely out of it. So when it comes to the cuts and burns, they're not so much there. It's the crew who's been working and working and working that you're more concerned with. So that's what I'm there for. I'm there for, hey, how many ibuprofen do you need? Well, you need something for your sinuses. It's your time of the month. You know what? I've got what you need. But like if you came to me and said, "I'm not feeling well," you explained your symptoms to me, I'm going to be offering my advice to you. I've got an entire drugstore. You pick what you want, but I'm going to check on you every day. And I'm just going to make sure that you're healthy and make sure you don't get to the point where, hey, you need to go to the doctor. Let's go get you taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought about, the duration of those shows, definitely fatigue and stuff would set in and cause them to make poor judgment decisions and everything. I actually interviewed a set medic on the Jackass 3 movie, and it sounds like you've dealt with a lot more, handling like blood and all that stuff than he did. And that's crazy, compared to those movies where those guys just went crazy doing dangerous stunts. But
They were
kitchens
Oh,
can
they
get
were
dangerous.
stupid. Not that I didn't enjoy watching that. I mean, I love watching
Yeah, yeah,
stupid
yeah.
people do stupid things. That keeps us all employed, right?
Uh-huh, yep. Out of all the different restaurants you worked in for these shows and cooking competition, what was the most chaotic kitchen you've ever been a paramedic on?
The most chaotic is, I will just say it takes place in the Midwest.
Okay,
It's going to be on the newest season of Kitchen Nightmares that has not been announced when it's going to air
gotcha,
yet. So I really
gotcha.
can't say anything about it, but I will just say this was the most chaotic season that I've worked on.
Wow.
It's just when security is patting people down,
Mhm.
there's stuff going on. And this is on a restaurant show and they're
Oh
patting
my
people down.
gosh. Let me ask you, one of my favorite scenes, I think this might have been on no, this wasn't on Kitchen Nightmares. I forgot what it was on. It was on one of Gordon's shows. The scene where he says, "What are you?" and she says, "An idiot sandwich." Yeah. Yeah, Hell's Kitchen, that's right. Does Gordon bring that same energy off camera? What's he like off camera?
He's one of the nicest people I've ever worked with.
Wow.
You have to think about it. He's not just the host, but he's running these production companies. He has a stake in these production companies. So he wants to know everything that's going on. So once a week, I'll see him once a week because he's going from my episode to my friend Brian going to his episode and then back to mine in the next city. He will never remember my name. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, medic, how are you doing today?" "I'm doing great, chef. What about you?" He goes, "I don't know. Not even you could have saved that food in that restaurant." And I just looked at him and said, "Would you have wanted me to?" And he goes, "Fair point," gives me a fist bump and tells me, "Have a good day," and walks away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, what's the weirdest kitchen related injury you've ever had to treat on set?
The weirdest kitchen injury I've ever had to treat on set is I was working on the movie Renfield. This was a feature where we have a kitchen incident. And for the record, let me put this out there. Try to make sure that I maintain anonymity when talking about people, but when working on set, working behind the scenes, HIPAA does not apply to us
Gotcha.
because it's whatever the legality is, HIPAA does not apply. So
Hmm.
and this person, I have made fun of him so often because we're friends. He's okay with this. But he was the head chef, the head caterer for the movie Renfield, and he was working out of his food truck. And he took one step down on the back stairs and his ankle rolled. When his ankle rolled, it made him twist his body, and he fell about 3.5 to 4 feet straight down onto the asphalt on both knees. We happened to have an ambulance there because we were having a major stunt that night. So we're evaluating him. We have 2 medics. We have a basic there. We're all thinking that he has a femur fracture, a closed femur fracture.
Hmm.
Get him to the hospital. That crew went ahead and transported because the stunts weren't till later. And so I said, "Hey, stay around as long as you can. See if you can find out what's up because I've got to do the paperwork. More information I have, the better." Well, they come back and they said it was worse than a femur fracture. And I'm like, "What happened?" And apparently he shredded everything in his knees was toast. Everything was torn. And, I let the production people know, said, "Good news, bad news. Bad news is it's not a broken leg." And I'm like, "What do you mean that's bad news?" And I explained, "Look, this is a man who's hauling 30, 40, 50 pounds of groceries and food every single day, walking up and down steps. He's going to be out of work for 8 or 9 months. But just keeping him calm and doing a good, proper assessment and
Hmm.
because the ambulance was nearby, but I had to wait for him. The paramedic was still green. And so he's
Hmm.
looking at me. I'm like, "All right, guys, this is what we got to do." And, those ambulance skills never go away. You're just like, even though I'm mainly passing out ibuprofen every day, when something happens, I mean, it's like riding a bicycle. You might
Yeah.
wobble a little bit, but it is
Yeah.
like,
It'll
okay, we
get.
got you squared away. And in the next movie that I worked on with him, every single morning when breakfast time came, he's like, "Hey, Gabe, what you want?" Like, I want a BLT. I want an omelet. I want
Yeah.
cheesy buffalo mac and cheese. And he would just go ahead and have it ready. I was like, "All right, there you go."
Well, that was a perfect segue into the next segment because I was going to talk about Renfield, actually, about your time on there, which I haven't seen the movie. It's a Nicolas Cage movie where he's Dracula. I do know that. I feel like it's impossible to watch every Nicolas Cage movie because that man has churned out movies more than Gordon Ramsay has churned out cooking shows. I mean, he
Well,
is
that's fine.
relentless.
That's what happens when you forget to pay your taxes for like 13
Yeah.
years and you've got to accept every single role that comes along.
Yeah. But I still enjoy a lot of his movies, but I haven't seen that one yet. But I do have some questions regarding that one.
Go for it, man.
So I feel like a Dracula movie set, like, was there a lot of fake blood on there? Like, was there like slipping hazards? Like, what kind of injuries did that type of movie bring? A horror movie?
So, stunt people, they practice and they practice and they practice. Okay. But I don't know whether it was blood in this case or this person just getting tripped up as he was walking backwards. But I had a gentleman in a stunt scene just fell back. We were at one of those hourly hooker hotels that everybody is familiar with if you're in EMS that has the external air conditioning unit. And when he fell backwards, he hit the back of his head, knocked himself out. And what made it bad was lack of communication because there's a procedure, there's a protocol on set. that if you call the medic, it's like, here's an example. Hey, medic, non-emergency, go to channel 2. So I'll switch to channel 2 and find out what's going on. At medic emergency, at that point, everything stops. Nobody else talks until I talk.
Hmm.
And I said, all right, hey, this is Gabe, go for Gabe. And I had 4 different people telling me 4 different things about what was going on. Well, this was on the 3rd floor of a hotel, had no elevator, and I've gotten 4 different, totally different things I've been told. So
Hmm.
I have about 7 kits. I'm not taking them with me. I'm gonna go up there, figure out what's going on. So, so once again, in an emergency, communication is the key. But it could have been that blood, them slipping in the blood that caused the injury. It could have just been tripping themselves. Once again, they practice, they practice, they practice. But also in Renfield, there is a scene where Nick Cage's character is set on fire and he's flying through the air and attacks somebody. And when he hits this vampire hunter, the vampire hunter goes up in flame. So they come to me, hey, Gabe, remember tomorrow we're lighting people on fire. And I'm like, okay. And they're just looking at me, and I'm like, what? And they're like, how can you just say okay? What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 people are going to be totally engulfed in flames. What? I mean, why are you just so lackadaisical about it? And I just put it like this: when these people are on fire, when you see somebody set on fire on a movie, they are fully capable of doing oxygen exchange. Nothing's preventing them from doing that. But if somebody is totally engulfed on fire and they breathe in, what happens?
Hmm.
Their, their trachea swells shut, their lungs become raisins. And I explained that to them. I said, they've practiced this. They're pros. So either they're going to live or they're not going to live. There's nothing I can do really to change either of these outcomes. So I'm not going to be worried. So the next day they have the stunt. These stunt people know who I am. They get extinguished. They had a fight scene for about 30 seconds, holding their breath the entire time. I give them about a minute and I walk up and I go, hey guys, how y'all doing? They look at me and go, we're doing nothing awesome, and forearm smashing each other and forearm smashing me. And I'm like, hey, that's great, guys. Y'all know where I am, right? They're like, yeah, yeah. And I said, all right, that's good. If anything changes, y'all come and let me know, okay? It's like, oh, not a problem. But it's Bread Week on Great British Bake Off, and I'm binging that right now. So wait at least 35 minutes for anything to change. Not a problem. And then I went back over to work.
Man, those stunt people are built different. Like
Yeah,
just
They
going
are
through the motions like that.
they are a different kind of crazy, a different kind of stupid, whatever you want to call it. But being lit on fire is like a $2,000 pay bump for the day for them. They're like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me ask you, when they do experience injuries, are they still that happy-go-lucky, like, still positive? Like, I know it's part of the job for them, like, or are they like, anybody else you pick up at EMS that's experiencing an injury?
no, they're just like that. They have been injured. They have been burned. They have had broken bones. A lot of times they won't even tell anybody, and then they'll just come over to me at my little station and say, "Hey, I may have done something." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool. Let's get you taken care of." And if I need to send them off site, somebody will drive them. Because just because need to go to the emergency room doesn't necessarily mean you need an ambulance to go to the emergency room. I know that's a novel concept to some people, but just get them taken care of. And so,
That's awesome.
and I realize they have a high pain threshold. So if they are coming to me with something, I know it's serious.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. You told me earlier that you've also worked on the set of Your Honor, which is a TV show with Bryan Cranston, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't watched that either, but I will tell you Bryan Cranston is one of my favorite actors because Breaking Bad is my number one favorite TV show. So I need
Understand.
to check it out. I do know the premise of the show. It's courtroom drama, pretty much, correct?
Correct.
So that in itself doesn't really sound dangerous on a TV set. So what medically, like, do you have to deal with on that type of show?
So with shows like that on set, what you're going to deal with is going to be the crew members who are on the show for 3 months, day in and day out, moving equipment, lugging equipment. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. And you eventually, once again, get to that point where you're there for so long, you get lax. and maybe doing your safety things, and little accidents will happen. But also, it's not even on set. So what you see is only part of the story. You have construction crews, you have rigging crews. Had an instance on that show in which somebody, where there was not a medic, because it's a department that generally doesn't have a medic with them, a forklift ran over their foot. And, once again, that was because somebody wasn't paying attention, not the person who got run over, but just somebody wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when you have your riggers, they're up in these lifts 30 feet up in the air. Safety is absolute key. As you can tell, I'm a happy go lucky guy. But recently, back in November, we had a gentleman who taught all of our lift classes. So if you're going 30 feet up in the air, hey, you have to make sure you have this harness on. This is how you properly put it on. This is what you avoid, everything like that. He was just doing his job on a movie set, getting it ready for the next day of filming, and an accident happened. He did everything he was supposed to do, and an accident happened. And unfortunately, he did not survive the accident. So even the most safety minded person, like him, something can happen. He uh, was working around power lines, didn't touch them, didn't come close to them, but there was an arc. It's just one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a set medic, it's an easy job. They come to you at the end of the day and say, "Hey, did you do anything?" Nope. They're like, "Keep up the great work." But you still always have to be prepared and be ready for when that truly unexpected.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm going to pivot a little bit. So I know you didn't work on the set, but the movie Rust, where Alec Baldwin, that thing happened and someone got shot. Like, do you know anything about like how, just because I don't know really about a lot about what happened. I haven't looked into it, but just can you describe or talk about anything that happened by either parties or anything like that?
So what's out there is pretty much public record. So what people need to understand is, I grew up in the South, gun safety courses, was in the Army many, many pounds ago. I understand gun safety. And generally, if somebody hands you a gun, you're going to check to make sure it's loaded, unloaded, whatever the case. In the movie business, you have an armorer who is going to make sure that the weapon is in proper working order and make sure it has the right ammunition in it. Then the armorer is going to show the first assistant director, who is over safety, and the actor or actress, showing this is what it is, this is how you operate it. Now, a lot of people who don't like Alec Baldwin, it's understandable. Some people don't like him. They're saying, well, he should have checked the weapon personally himself. Once somebody does anything different to the weapon after it's been handed off, you have to stop everything. It goes back to the armorer for checking and everything. What happened is they were 60 miles basically away from civilization. People were bored, so the armorer brought live ammunition to the area so people could shoot their guns. That's a no-no. Live ammo got mixed in with the blank rounds. That's a no-no.
Yeah.
And so when the weapon was loaded, there was a live round in it, and there you go. Um, this was on the armorer, who is in prison right now.
Yeah.
It's on the first AD, who has pled, is essentially blackballed in America for working on shows. A lot of people asked afterwards, what have we done to help prevent an accident like that from happening again? Talking about IATSE, which is the union that covers crews and so forth. And I let them know we've done absolutely nothing, because when you follow the safety protocols that are in place, those accidents don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything the wrong way when you do everything the right way. As a matter of fact, we filmed Renfield right after the Rust incident. And we had a day where I believe we had 15 different guns in a scene, all firing.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a single incident at all. It was a very long shoot because the armorer went to every single weapon, cleared it, showed it to the first AD, showed it to the stunt. 15 different people every single time you shot that scene. I feel bad for the people whose careers have changed because of that, because they didn't want to follow uh, protocols. mean, that's how it happens. I don't know if they had a medic on their show or not at that time. It was considered a low budget film, and up until a couple of years ago, first aid was not required on low budget film. So I don't even know if they had a first aid person out there.
Gotcha.
But it just shows accidents happen anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Your paper said have you worked on both the Five Nights at Freddy's movies?
I did a day, what's called day played on Five Nights 1, which means I just came in for a couple of days. Five Nights 2, I worked the entire show.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've seen the first movie. Absolutely loved it. I need to watch the second one. I haven't played any of the games, but I'm a big fan of it. Just taking into account the animatronics on set, I'm sure, did y'all do night shoots on the second one? Because it's a very dark movie. Like, did you have to deal with like sleep deprivation? How long were you on set on these shoots?
So on a show like Five Nights at Freddy, as the medic, I'm one of the very first ones in, one of the very last ones to leave. I think I averaged 13. If you take lunch into consideration, 30-minute lunch into consideration, I average 14 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Wow,
So
makes for a long day.
now when that check hits the bank every week, you're like, "Oh, I can do that again. It's not a problem."
Yeah.
Um, you 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 get, even if you're not having night shoots, you will have sleep issues towards the end of the week, because the way it works, while the crew has a turnaround time that has to be met, actors have a turnaround time that have to be met as well. So let's just say we start the day at 7 a.m. on Monday and we wrap at 8 p.m. that night. Well, we have to wait for the actors to get 12 hours of rest once they reach their hotel, not once they leave set. So the next day starts a little later, and then the next day starts later, and then you get to Friday and you're starting at noon or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. And then you work your 12, 13, 14 hours. You're getting off Saturday morning and you're back at it again 7 a.m. on Monday morning again. So you look, especially those last couple of nights, you look for signs of people who are fatigued, that you worry about if it's safer to drive them home. Five Nights at Freddy was great. They would offer Ubers to anybody who needed a lift. They would pay for the Uber going home, and they would pay for your Uber coming back to set to get your vehicle. So they were
Wow.
extremely, extremely safety conscious.
Yeah, so, that movie, there's a lot of heavy costumes that people had to wear. Did you ever had to deal with, like, overheating problems, like the people wearing them?
There was one person, a couple of ice packs took care of it, but
Mhm.
they had pretty much a strict, I believe, 20-minute time limit that somebody could be in that suit without taking the head and the top off, because they were extremely, extremely heavy. They don't breathe much at all. So it was very easy to get overheated, even though we were on air conditioned sound stages. And when we shot outdoors was fall in New Orleans. Fall in New Orleans is like summer everywhere else. So, it's warm. So once again, you keep a close eye on everything. They made sure to let me know, hey, these are going to be things we're doing today or doing tomorrow. Would you mind just making sure everybody, just watching out for things? And you know
Mhm.
what? Honestly, I'm not doing anything else. I'm going around and I'm talking to the crew, or, I'm watching Great British Bake Off, because why not?
I need to watch that show. You keep talking about it. It must be a
Oh,
good
it's a good
show.
show. It's a good show.
Moving forward to, Spinal Tap 2. It's another one I haven't seen. I've heard of Spinal Tap 1. I haven't seen that either, but it's about a rock band. Is that what it's about? Can you just describe the
It's
movie?
about the greatest rock band in history, Spinal Tap. And hey, don't feel bad about not watching these things. I don't watch anything that I work on. So,
Gotcha.
okay. So Spinal Tap 2 was a mockumentary filmed in the early 80s. And now these guys are, they're towards the end of their careers as actors, because, one of them is a voice actor, Harry Shearer, who you hear doing tons of voices on The Simpsons. The other two were actors. And well, Breaking Bad, the lead singer for Spinal Tap was played a major role in Better Call Saul for quite a while.
Okay.
But they just wanted to
Huh.
they wanted to end Spinal Tap on their terms. So the day I was there, I was a day player. We had a concert scene, had over 1,000 extras for the day. It was filmed at the UNO Lakefront Arena here in New Orleans. I was asked to come in to give the other medic a hand. We did everything. We processed everything. Everybody's in their position for the concert scene. Then they're like, hey, all of y'all who came in to help us, y'all go sit down too. We're not going to see your radios. Y'all watch the concert. It was incredible. And then halfway through the day, the lead medic comes to me, can you come in tomorrow and help us? And I'm like, absolutely. And he's like, do you have any questions? I said, yeah, who is this SEJ on the call sheet? And he goes, oh, that's Sir Elton John. He's singing tomorrow. But getting
Wow.
paid to go watch a Spinal Tap Elton John concert. I'm like, yes, this is, I mean, how did some guy who got hired to sweep out and mop and restock ambulances find his way right here?
Yeah.
And but with Spinal Tap 2, I was only on it for 3 days. It was just dealing with 1,000 people instead of the 150 people you normally deal with, dealing with
Yeah.
1,000 people who think because you're the medic, you were there to take care of every single little problem that they have. It's like, I've had this chest cold for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, you've been here for 3 minutes. Well, I just thought I'd come talk to you and go ahead and get a bottle of something. I'm like, I'm not giving you a bottle of anything. I mean, you need some Dayquil? Man, I got you. But no, this isn't how this works. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was an awesome experience. That was probably the most fun I've had on set for a day. I've had more fun overall
Yeah.
on other sets, but for one day, just watching Elton John perform, and he messed up, and it was a Rob Reiner film, and Elton got mad because he messed up, and he said, "Elton, if you mess up, we can redo it. This isn't one of your concerts where you have to be absolutely perfect." And he nodded his head, and you could just see a change in him. Like he was actually having fun because he didn't have to be spot on every single
Yeah.
time. And it was just, that was an absolutely incredible experience.
That's gotta be the best part of being a set medic is just how many different types of shows and movies you can be a part of and experience. Lastly, as far as your film list, I wanna talk about Sinners. What did you do on that movie? I love that movie. I love Ryan Coogler, so I definitely wanna hear about this.
I had 3 different roles. I worked as a rigging medic. One of the scenes, now you have, did you say you have or haven't seen Sinners?
I have seen Sinners, yes.
So the train depot, the train station scene, they had a 150-foot green screen back behind the train station, and it was 150 feet long. It was 25 feet high, and it was set alongside a working rail line. So if a train came through, I mean, we're having to move everything, and so they wanted a medic because of that. So we did that. I worked as a construction medic as they were building and tearing down sets. And then I worked a week and a half on set when the lead medic got sick. He called me up one day and said, can you come about, God, 5:30 in the evening? He said, can you come finish the night for me? I'm not feeling well. And I said, sure. I'm an hour away. Got there. He said, thank you. And I went around saying hi to everybody, let them know I'm here. And I said, what time do y'all think we're going to wrap? He goes, oh, we just started. We're going to be getting off about 6 a.m. And I said, okay. This was not planned for the day. But,
Mhm.
it was a miserable filming experience if you weren't filming indoors because you were filming in the New Orleans or Southeast Louisiana area in the summer, in cane fields, in swamps, in the day, at night. You're dealing with what we call the Louisiana Air Force, or as other people call it, mosquitoes. And some of the places, you've got alligators and snakes you're having to deal with as well. But what came out on the screen apparently was absolutely incredible because I believe they have 16 Oscar nominations this year. And from watching what I saw being filmed, that they deserve every single one of them.
Yeah, it's a great movie. If you had to take into account every set you've been on, every movie, every TV show, which actor or actress did you think was just the coolest person to meet and talk to?
It may not be a popular opinion on
Mhm.
this because this gentleman was sort of blacklisted for a while, but is now coming back. An actor named Army Hammer.
Okay.
Yep. He had some text messages and stuff come out,
Yeah.
but I talked to him. I worked with him before this happened, so I can only judge by my actual experience. We worked on a movie, and he came up to me one day and he said, "Hey, my son just turned 3 years old. We took CPR classes when we left the hospital. Do we need to retake CPR?" And I said, "Absolutely. Yes, you do." And he goes, "Can you teach it to me?" And I said, "I am not a CPR instructor, but I will show you what you need to do as long as you recognize I'm not a CPR instructor." And he
Hmm.
goes, "Okay." He's like, "You've done CPR before. You might have an idea." We also had a production assistant who was an EMT. So the next day he came over and the EMT and I demonstrated, "Hey, this is what you're going to do." And he was like, "That's incredible." And then after that, he would just come over 15 minutes every day just to say hi, talk about family life, talk about movie life, because I was probably the only person there who didn't care who he was. And I think
Yeah.
he enjoyed that. And
Hmm.
as we got towards the end of the film, he found out that my oldest daughter, this was 2019, 2018, he found out that my oldest daughter was about to do a college road trip through the Northeast. And he's like, "Going to be on Broadway when y'all are going up." And he's like, "Did you know that?" And I'm like, "I like you, dude, but I don't keep up with your
Yeah.
schedule." And he had his assistant give us his phone number and his email address. And he just said, "Hey, when y'all come through New York City, y'all let me know. I'm going to have tickets at will call for y'all for the show. And then I'm going to bring y'all backstage after the show." And, that just showed a good person to me. That was
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely just wonderful. And I was starting out in the industry then. I was like, "Man, it's not going to get any better than this." And for the most part, I
Yeah.
was right. I have worked with some absolutely great people. I have worked with some absolute divas, but at the end of the day, the check went into the bank on Friday, and that's
Yep.
what matters most of the time.
Oh, yeah. If there's somebody watching right now that would, is interested thinking about being a set medic, what would be like some advice you would give them?
The advice that I give people is, first off, real quick, there are people who go to basic school, go to EMT school specifically so they can do this job. And they are doing a disservice to every single crew member on that show, because all they have are those 3 to 5 ambulance clinicals and however many hospital clinicals. They do not have the knowledge to treat emergencies.
Hmm.
If you were an EMT, a medic, an RN, OPN, I recommend at least 3 years of emergency room, EMS, fire experience just to start off with. Then, what I generally tell people is there's going to be a Facebook group for every single state, filming in Mississippi, filming in Alabama, filming in Texas, filming in Alaska, wherever you are. Find that Facebook group, go in. These are mainly going to be no budget movies where all you're going to do is get fed, but offer your services. Bring a little first aid kit, offer your services. They're going to feed you. That way you can get a very small idea of what goes on, but also you get a credit. So do it again and then do it again. Now you've got 3 credits. You can go on your state film commission website and list yourself as a set medic. When people look at your credits, they don't care if you got paid or not. They just know you have worked around people in film and that you have some experience. They combine that with your emergency experience and your set experience, and they'll may give you a call if they come through town. "We need somebody for a couple of days." And there you go. It's difficult if there's not a lot of filming in the area that you live, but if you can become known as that one person that everybody calls anytime something comes through, I mean, that's a great place to be. I have people calling me up for shows now. I'm at the point where people call me. I don't necessarily have to seek out work, but there are a lot of other medics in the area as well. So it's not just Gabe, it's this person, it's this person, it's this person, this person. If you're an area with no filming, you become that person, you're good to go. And, one other thing people will ask, let's just talk about what we're going to talking about here is it's going to be money. I've worked on shows where I got paid $200 to work 12 hours, to where now, whenever I work like like a Sinners or Five Nights. And I say this because this is public knowledge. Anybody can look this up if you know where to look. For a
Hmm.
medic, it's $700 for 12 hours to pass out
Gotcha.
ibuprofen and band-aids and, essentially be a firefighter without the mustache and cooking spaghetti. So just had to throw that out there. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's absolutely great. It's fun. You get to learn a lot. If you're able to make extra money for your family, what more can you ask for? So, and then also, I'm not a content creator, but I am on TikTok at Set Medic Gabe. And anybody wants to message me, they can message me. I never have a problem helping people try to get a new path. And it's not just set medic. Like I have a friend who's the assistant fire chief in Antarctica. I have a friend who's on a research vessel in the South Pacific now, just being a medic. There's so much more out there than on the boo-boo bus or working the fire engine. You just have to know that there's more that they don't teach us about. And I encourage everybody to look outside the box.
On that subject, do you think your friend that's assistant fire chief in Antarctica would be interested in coming on the podcast? I feel like that'd be a cool conversation.
Absolutely. Oh, I can get him. He is now, wow. Yeah. He's a paramedic firefighter. He's now working as an RN in the state of Pennsylvania. But man, yeah, he would have absolutely no issue coming on because he loves to talk
Awesome.
about how he broke his ankle responding to a call in his Crocs while he was there in Antarctica. And I'm like, how do you wear Crocs in Antarctica? And he
Yeah.
goes, he was joking, but he goes, having diabetes and not being able to feel stuff really helps. And I said, okay, works.
Yeah, I'll definitely be in touch for his info. I just got a few more questions, just general stuff before we end. So you don't work on an ambulance anymore. It's all set medic stuff, correct?
It's all set medic stuff. In 23, things were going great in the industry. I mean, gangbusters. And I said, you know what? It's going to be like this forever. So I went ahead and let my stuff lapse. Guess what? It didn't stay like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, things are slow. We're going to work on getting my paramedic back. It's been,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm doing my New Orleans public education math right, it's been 15 years since I took registry. So a lot has changed.
Yeah.
But I will try to go back just in case there's another slowdown. But this can be a full-time job. Absolutely.
The reason I asked, do you miss the 911 calls at all?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still at that point where I live, I'm half a mile from the station one, the fire station number one where I live. There is a parking lot where the ambulance service posts a lot. So I hear the sirens, all the time. And I'm just like, okay, I wonder what they're running on. But also it's also good. You never know when you're going to run into those things. I went to go work a Food Network show in Kansas City. And because I have unprescribed oxygen bottles, airlines frown upon those being brought into their aircraft. So I have to drive everywhere I go. And I saw a car that had hit the median barrier on the interstate, and there were some car seats in there. So I just stopped just to make sure everybody was okay. And when I turned around, because everybody was okay, I turned around walking back to my car. I see this man and woman playing Superman and Superwoman as their bikes going through the air. And, you know, I, I had to airlift both of them. There was 20
Okay.
minutes till any ambulance was able to get there. I got lucky and blessed because I had my equipment. And, we've all had bystanders stop and say, I'm a nurse. What can I do to help? As my
Yeah.
girlfriend, the nurse, sits behind me, but she's a paramedic as well. She understands.
Yeah.
I had two women pull up and say, hey, we're ER nurses. What can we do? And I'm like, what can you do this and this? And then somebody else comes up and he goes, hey, I'm an ER physician. What can I do to help? And I said, give me permission to intubate and so forth. And it was just
Yeah.
the best part of that. It wasn't helping somebody or getting that adrenaline rush. It was the fact I didn't have to do any paperwork afterwards and I could just get in my car and head down the road.
That's the coolest part of some of the overtime I pick up is the ones where you don't have to do paperwork. And I tell that to
It's
everybody.
it's so we have here in Louisiana, we have a law that if you were filming on a soundstage, because there might be haze or smoke involved, the fire alarm system has to be taken offline. So you have to have a firefighter sitting there with us all day long who is making bukus of money, getting free meals, and getting to watch all of this stuff as well. And we had one young
Hmm.
man, he was 4 months into the service and he didn't know what he was coming to do. And he found out it was Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And he went through the ceiling. He was trying to take pictures and everything. I said, simmer down, bucko. It's all good. Gave him a grand
Yeah.
tour. They let him take home a piece of memorabilia from the movie, but it was just one of those things. He was just, when you've got movies in the area, that's something else to jump on. If you can get one of those fire standbys just to go and sit and make money, you jump on it because then you
Yeah.
watch and learn. You can say you've seen this set, you've worked on this set, and that can lead to bigger and better things for you.
Hmm. Yeah. One final question.
Yeah.
If you could work on, your dream movie, show, or work with your dream person, who or what would it be?
Well, it wouldn't be dating reality. I'm sorry, baby Jesus, for doing that. That was a horrible, horrible experience. If I were to work on any show or with any actor right now, I would love to work anything with Denzel Washington because if
That would be,
Denzel's on it, it's going to be absolutely great. Or work something with Bryan Cranston again because
yeah.
he didn't have his assistant do anything. Smoothies were brought to set. He got up and he waited in line. He didn't have to do that. He's like, I'm not going
Yeah.
ahead of y'all. We just talked there in line when we were walking up to get our smoothies. Those are the people that you just really love because they remember where they come from. They
Uh-huh.
love their crews. They take care of their crews. Wayne Cranston does it. Denzel Washington does it. Scott Bakula is one of the best who's ever done it. So it's not necessarily what's on screen that I'm wanting to look at. I'm wanting to see how these people treat just the regular person who's making it happen.
Yeah. That's wow. I'd love to meet Bryan Cranston one day too. Like I said, Breaking Bad's my all-time favorite show. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've learned so much. I've enjoyed listening to all your experiences. I hope everybody else has too that's listened. Do you have anything else you'd like to add at the end?
Like I said, if anybody has any questions about it, not a content creator, but find me on TikTok. It's Set Medic Gabe. Matter of fact, that's what it says on the screen. Set Medic Gabe. I'll answer anybody's question. I will help direct you to whoever you need to go to. Uh, and, just remember when it comes to EMS, when it comes to fire, if you happen to be in the police service and you're watching this podcast, because you weren't able to live your dream of being a firefighter, just remember there is more than what you're doing now. So when you get to that point where you need that break, there are all sorts of job opportunities out there for you. All you have to do is take time to look and don't be afraid to take that chance on yourself. So, but yeah, it's been an honor to be on this podcast today. I'm glad that we got to talk. Of course, if you have any other questions at all about anything, you can just shoot those to me as well. And like I said, I ain't doing nothing until next month, so I'm free to help anybody at all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabe. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to share this podcast around friends, family, with your granny, whoever you want to. Let's get the word out. Every new episode comes out every other Monday. I'm actually going to be putting out some bonus episodes throughout the weeks just because I've been interviewing a lot of people. So stay tuned for those. You all have a great day and thanks for watching.